We're live.
We're live. We are live.
We are
What's up,
live.
everyone? Yes, El Cuco, we are live. What is up? Hey, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning, wherever in the world you are. It's the one and only dynamic duo of the Master Ape as well as the Master from the Flux Capacitor, CJ. We are breaking down all the news, all the views, and all the information that's important to you. With that being said, check us out roguemoney.net. Roguemoney.net, the fastest growing, most badass geopolitical, geostrategic, geoeconomic website on planet Earth. It is the most complete. It is more complete than the Food Guide Pyramid's complete nutritious breakfast. I'm just rambling like a moron this morning because I don't have enough dark roast in me as of yet. With that being said, check out our sponsors. RemainCom.net, RemainCom.net, whether you need the gold USB or you need that smart banking option. Well, let's talk about the gold USB. What does it do? 1024-bit elliptical grade military 1024-bit elliptical encryption that is military grade, allows you to surf the web anonymously. The only way the NSA is going to find out what you're doing is if they actually sat next to you and looked at your screen. Okay, that's how awesome the gold USB is. Check it out. Check it out. Or whether you need $600,000 unsecured so you can buy cryptos, you can, I don't know, buy a house, pay off your mortgage, do something, get out of debt, change your life, start a business. Check out myfreedomnow.us and their personal and business funding page. You can get up to $600,000. Or you just need your credit fixed, or you need a smart banking option to protect your bank account from all sorts of confiscations and seizures. Check out remaincom.net to make it all happen. With that being said, CJ, what is going on?
Hey V, good morning. I'm fired up. I've started my second cup of dark roast, ready to rock it out. But before I forget, V, there's a couple of things I want to cover real quick because I know once we get going, we tend to get deep in, keep going. But anyway, real quick. So, roguemoney.net. Please make sure to visit roguemoney.net. Lots of great things going on with Rogue. We've added a new contributor for our efforts in regards to Rogue, and that is Marianne Callahan, and she's posted her first article. It's called
Wow.
Zcash is becoming popular cryptocurrency, and that's part of the Rogue Coin initiative. So as we expand, as we grow Rogue into a lot more information, this will continue. And then also a couple of great articles went up. Bankster Slayer posted an article in regards to Vladimir Putin, and he was in the Valdai 2017 conference, said a lot regarding cryptocurrencies, regarding changing technologies. So she's posted a great article on that. And then our man, James, the Russian analyst, is back at it again, full throttle. So he has posted
Yes.
SITREP 25, the IAF F-35, just in regarding to Russia and the SAMs and Hezbollah. So go check those out. And I just thought it was important to plug those, V, because usually I forget.
Correct. Yeah, good plug. Good plug. Absolutely. I had no idea that we had a new contributor. Welcome aboard, Marianne Callahan. Thank you so much for posting for Zcash and the upcoming Rogue Coin, Rogue initiatives that are out and about. And CJ, if people knew the monster that we are building, eye has not
Yeah.
seen, nor ear has heard, El Cuco.
Yeah, lots of great things going on, and I'll be honest with you, there's just not enough time, in the
Yeah.
day. And I try to get everything wrapped up like around by midnight, just so that way I can enjoy a little bit, some of the articles. But just the amount of work that's being poured in right now on the background, and once it's finished, we will definitely be having a launch party, celebrate with our listeners and our fans.
Yep, absolutely, man. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I can't wait. All right, man. Let's get into it. It seems like you can't keep a good lackey down. Israel strikes Syria. This is from Haaretz this morning. What's going on over here? It seems as if the deep state just can't let go. They just can't let go, CJ. So they have to yank
No,
Israel's
no.
chain. Good.
No, I was just going to say, that's, one of the things that we've talked about the last couple of days is just continuing to keep an eye on this as Israel becomes even more, isolated. I'm really hope that they come to their senses, and these acts, these continuous, what they're calling a spillover fire that landed and Israel decides to counterstrike. I mean, these are acts of desperation at this point,
Yep.
V.
Yep. Absolutely. You know, it's amazing. They supposedly said there's some errant fire that came from the Golan Heights, and where did the errant fire originate from? Where did it land? Did anybody got hurt? Did anybody got hit? Nope. No. What really happened is this. Okay. What really happened is we all know the deep state. The deep state is active in most Western countries. Israel is no exception to the deep state. And if you don't think Israel has a deep state, you haven't been paying attention. Okay. Now, deep states are formed with various ideologues. Okay. In the West, it's America, the the fighter for freedom and democracy. The Brits have their own version, and of course, in Israel, it's Zionism and this, that, and the other. So what happens is, with all the failures that has occurred to the United States in the Middle East, one of the things that they can rely upon is they can't do anything major, so they got to do minor stuff from the outskirts of where the main conflict is. They can only do things from the outskirts. They can't do anything from the inside. Okay, I mean, recently we heard that 2 Israeli F-35s were taken out of service for bird strikes. Because there's lots of birds flying around in the Middle East, bro. Tons of birds,
Right.
all sorts. There's pelicans and seagulls and and all sorts of flocks and flocks and flocks of birds. So the F-35, which is supposed to be the most invincible plane ever created by humanity, right? The greatest thing since sliced bread, was taken out by quote unquote bird strikes. In reality, there is strong evidence that it probably met some very strong Russian electronic warfare and had to turn tail and run. Okay, or worse. But anyway, that being said, what the U.S. does typically, CJ, we see this with the Kurds the week before. Okay, the week or two before.
That was orchestrated, definitely.
Exactly. So they yank on the Kurds, saying, "Hey, Kurds, I want you to go ahead and capture the oil fields," and that didn't work out well. And they're like, "All right, Israel, go ahead and hit these places." And all Israel could do is fly over the Golan Heights, fly over Lebanon, and probably lob a few missiles that hit really nowhere. That's it. So it is the deep state getting desperate. It just shows you their inability to do anything. It's just a joke, man. But Syria is right now at this point like 99% complete. Over 1.5 million Syrians have returned to Syria because it's being dusted up right now. Thank God for the Russians. Thank God for the Syrians. Thank God for the Iranians, the Chinese, all of them that have worked together so these innocent people could go back to their homes, man.
Right. Yeah. That's the big picture. And let's keep in mind, V, as well, back in the early days, before Putin administered a "come to Jesus" talk with Erdogan. Let's remember that Turkey actually took out and shot down a Russian jet, right?
Oh yeah.
If my memory serves. Let's remember that. Okay. And what did Putin do? V. He
was cool
remained composed. He evaluated the situation, what happened, and he didn't have a knee-jerk reaction, if you will, to launch a major offensive against Turkey. And look where that's landed him. Now Turkey is an ally with Russia. Turkey's kicking out U.S. military, shutting down, what's the name of the Air Force base there?
In Sirlik.
Shutting down the Air Force base, moving the nuke weapons out. And here, Israel, a piece of rock is thrown into their territory, and they launch an offensive.
It shows you the desperation, man.
It shows you the desperation, and now we're seeing, and this is what our listeners, this is why it's important to share this broadcast, because most people who are still plugged in, most sheepy who have still continuously take the blue pill, who get most of their news from the MSM, this is well orchestrated, like we just talked about in regards to the Turkestan and taking over the oil fields and the airport. Now we're seeing this event unfold with Israel striking Turkey. We're seeing the deep state, they're getting desperate. And yesterday was a clear sign of that when George W. Bush goes on the offensive with Barack Obama and the deep state launches his attack against President Trump v.
Yep, absolutely correct, my man. Absolutely correct. Next piece of news right here, man. Trump picks the Google Slayer, brother, to chair the FTC. Google snowflakes are melting everywhere. I mean, let's be honest here. This is what's originally started out as a search engine and an internet company has basically turned out to be a communications monopoly. Okay? You cannot be this big, have this many hands and this many pies, and not be broken up into several smaller pieces. So the announcement that Joseph Simmons, okay, will be nominated by President Trump has sent shivers down many of those that are working within Alphabet, aka Google. Simmons is a partner of the law firm Paul Weiss and Rickford, Wharton and Garrison LLP. Will be anointed to a 7-year term and take over upon confirmation of acting chairman Maureen Allhausen, who has been running the agency on a temporary basis since Trump's inauguration. Trump would also nominate Rohit Chopra for the remainder of the term that expires on September the 25th, 2019. Chopra is a senior fellow at Consumer Federation of America, where he works in consumer finance issues previously assisted. Now, the FTC chairman Simmons would take over the agency that's investigating the massive data breach at Equifax, which is egregious. Egregious, absolutely egregious. Eventually, all credit will be done away with, folks. Eventually. It's down the road. So everything's going blockchain. Your credit will be on the blockchain. And once it's on there, it will never be erased. So if you got crap on your credit, now's the time to clean it. RemainCalm.net. That's a shameless plug right there. Which exposed the personal information of 150 million Americans. Okay. Trump is also behind the past administration choosing a chairman of the FTC, so on and so forth. Now, the thing with this guy, okay, CJ, is Joseph Simmons is a major antitrust lawyer. He has an axe to grind with Google. Okay, a serious axe to grind. So people that are out there that are pissed off at conservative voices, libertarian voices being silenced and demonetized in YouTube. And CJ, it wasn't like last week we had like 25 videos demonetized in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, they've adjusted their algos. There's keywords that we have to avoid, and literally, I'm talking about within 2 minutes of posting, and it's instantly demonetized. Yeah, but there were several that they went back. Yeah.
Yep, exactly correct, my man. So, this pick of the new FTC chair is really going to do some stuff. Just sit back and watch the fireworks. Anyway, moving on stage, the world's largest ICO is imploding after 3 months. And what I've been saying is that the U.S. and Chinese regulators are correct. You don't want these crazy ICOs. Crypto should be about the celebration of the freedom, the decentralization, and the technology. It shouldn't be, about jumping from one ICO to the next. Siege, what is all this about, man?
This was one of the world's largest ICOs. When they first did their initial fundraise, they were targeting for, I believe, like a 30 million capital raise. So they were actually, accepting, Bitcoin, other cryptos to help fund almost seed money, if you will, to get the company up and launched. Well, long story short, they ended up having close to, I believe, with the inflation of the prices, everything was like a 230 million, because obviously cryptos of Bitcoin in particular shot way up. So now we're learning that the founders of the company are having kind of a fit, against each other as far as the inability to recruit proper engineers to launch a product. One of the corporate directors was trying to massively pay themselves a huge bonus out of this. And so now these founders of this company, they're pretty much at odds against each other, and no delivery upon their promises of a product, no delivery as far as a launch date that was going to be done. So now if you're one of those persons that contributed or gave Bitcoins towards this ICO, now you have to worry about whether this company is ever going to take off or not, based upon their white paper and the promises that they made.
Yeah. Absolutely, my man. Absolutely correct. So these are the types of things that people want to avoid. It shouldn't be just, there should be some regulation. It shouldn't be like there should be some accountability. with ICOs. I agree wholeheartedly. So again, invest at your own risk, and I'm glad these regulations are happening. It is a good thing because it's gonna, it's gonna really put these charlatans out of business, and keep the good
Yeah,
companies in the
yeah.
Bitcoin track.
Yeah, and I want to, yes, this is a great example of the needed information, the needed to do your homework. That's why Rogue Coin is going to be, so important, because we are going to do the investigative part, into these ICOs, and share with you, provide some information in regards to, who are the players, what are they doing, what does the success rate look like. Listen, I'm very supportive of ICOs in terms of the disruptive measures that they can be towards traditional finance. There's something wrong, and I wasn't the brainchild behind this. It was Charles Hugh Smith that had a great article in where he talked about, in today's traditional finance and business world, that unfortunately it's a handful of companies that really determine the success rate of these IPOs. And it really it makes it difficult for innovators who may not have the initial funding to really get into it, to launch products. And so many times it's the top investment firms that decide when these companies do their IPOs in today's world, traditional world. So I support the ICOs, but I agree it has to be done the right way. There should be extensive, not extensive, but definitely, anything from their articles of incorporation, who are their board of directors, their white papers, do they have a business plan that is written, all those things need to go in place to see that somebody just didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I've got this great idea for this, and I'm going to go out and
Yeah,
raise
you can't
30
have
million. And
yeah.
what were you going to say, a product? Did you have
Yeah,
something in mind?
you can't have like a BS coin. It has no purpose whatsoever.
Yeah, new. I'm going to think of a new way to reinvent the wheel, and then I'm going to sell it, and this is going to be great. And then yeah. So just be careful with it. But the idea of ICOs, I think, could be very disruptive. And but again, there should be some guidelines, some parameters to operate within, and more importantly, for the consumers investing, do your homework, and we'll be helping with that.
Absolutely correct, my man. Absolutely correct. Saudi Arabia and Russia team up to develop the next generation of fracking technology. More sanctions, please. Yeah, because sanctions are working out very well. It's as soon as we started sanctioning, that's when the de-dollarization really kicked off into hyperspace, my man. So it turns out,
Boom.
folks, Saudi Arabia and Russia are leading production for the next generation, okay, of of extraction technologies using hydraulic fracturing. These are the next gen that are much more environmentally safe. The two companies, Gazprom and Saudi Aramco, have identified 6 areas of cooperation already, and they'll have to find the format of cooperation finding, which will be, of course, finalized by Russian, probably even by China as well. Earlier this month, Gazprom and Saudi Aramco signed a memorandum of cooperation during the visit between Saudi King Salman, which was never covered in any of the U.S. media over here because, of course, it's not important, doesn't fit the narrative anymore. Cooperation will include drilling and well work over technologies, improvements of pumping systems, and the development of large-scale non-metal pipes. Parties also plan to discuss perspectives on collaboration in research and development, experimental engineering works, as well as options for applying innovative solutions to a wide range of technological challenges. Huge news, and we want to thank the American deep state for putting together such a wonderful and natural fit between the uh, energy-rich nations of Saudi Arabia and Russia. Way to go, deep state! Thank you. We lost another ally. Good job. And the petrodollar is about to end because of this. Good job, guys. Good job.
Oh yeah, that's all. But other than that, everything's fine, V.
Absolutely, man. Man, I tweeted about this the day this Green Beret was killed in Niger, and I said the question isn't why this guy was killed. The real question is, and I'm sad the guy died, but the real question is, what the hell? And I said, WTF are we doing in Niger? Like, why are we there, CJ?
Well, we like to, state that we're obviously we're fighting, the terrorists. We're fighting, Al Qaeda. These elements that are there. But in part, when you look at the mass amount of operations that are being conducted there, and it's a lot more than just training exercises. I think it has a lot to do with just the U.S. empire. If you want to talk about a country that rich in natural resources, the fear that the U.S. is going to lose influence, over Africa, due to the One Belt One Road project. I think it's more the forces that are there in military identify it as, protecting Christianity and so forth, but it's not. It's just more or less wanting to be disruptive towards Africa and many of its countries joining the One Belt One Road project. V.
Absolutely correct, my man. Absolutely correct, 1000%. Now, here's the funny thing, right? This whole operation was, you had 5 Green Beret guys dead. They're saying 4. I think it was like 5. The whole entire operation was launched by AFRICOM. Okay, that's people want to know. I mean, here's the deal. Let's do a little compare and contrast. China shows up to Africa and does mutually beneficial trade agreements, infrastructure deals. Okay, high-speed rail, railways, ports, roads, bridges, tunnels, hospitals, administrative buildings. This is what China does. They show up, they build trust, they work with the local populations, all right? They do things that are mutually beneficial for Africa and help bring Africans out of poverty, improve their quality of life, erase them from having high infant mortality and various other issues and diseases like starvation and malnutrition. What does the U.S. do? The U.S.'s contribution to Africa, folks, is AFRICOM. And adding insult to injury, you would think that AFRICOM, the headquarters of AFRICOM, would be based somewhere in Africa. But you'd be amiss, and you'd be very wrong. U.S.'s greatest contribution to Africa, which is AFRICOM, is actually based in Germany. I mean, what the hell? I mean, if you're going to run proxy wars, if you're going to use asymmetrical warfare, and you want to be on this continued, spreading democracy by dropping love bombs, the least thing you could do is you could set up the headquarters for your foreign occupation within the lands that you are trying to conquer and subjugate. At least do that. But no, you'd rather dominate Africa with AFRICOM based in Germany. This is why you morons suck. This is why you deep state idiots miss the point. You're hastening the demise of this country at a rapid clip. And this is the reason why. We are in 48 African countries. We have about 2,700 active duty U.S. troops within Africa under command of AFRICOM in Germany. We are alienating, we're creating mistrust. We cannot even name a single ally in Africa because we don't have any. We have mutually, or I wouldn't even say beneficial, mutually convenient, loosely knit allegiances with factions in several countries in Africa. That is all. I can't even call them allies. China has allies in Africa. And what a contrast that China has outdone in a matter of 5 to 10 years what Western powers have been ruining for the last several hundred. Who do you think the Africans are going to go with? You think the Africans are stupid? You think they're going to go along and be like, you know what, I'm going to go team up with Team America. I'm going to go listen to what the Europeans have to give me. After all, they've been screwing us for 300 years. Do you think people are stupid? This is the reason why African, African committees and African coalitions have been sitting in front of the UN, sitting in front of the European Union, sitting in front of the Americans and say, hey, listen, here's the deal. We don't want what you got. We don't need it. Check, please. Exit stage left. Because the Chinese are cutting us a better deal. They're not loaning us money at exorbitant interest rates. This is why we're losing the world. Stupid crap like this, where the deep state is involved, where the military-industrial complex, which are a bunch of wealth extraction schemes, and I mean, you go back to my October 4th rant. If at the 20-minute mark about me and the military-industrial complex, you will understand perfectly what my thoughts on the military-industrial complex is. This is how you ruin nations and, most importantly, ourselves. This is the worst thing that can happen. And yet we continue to do it. Why? We don't allow diplomacy. And, dude, honestly speaking, Rex Tillerson, not only is he a brilliant man, Rex Tillerson is probably one of the best Secretary of States we've ever had. And he is being undermined both from within and without the administration for this kind of stupid programs. Where what the hell are we doing in Niger?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Africa for several years has also served as the breeding ground for experimental vaccines, experimental medicines. That the military has helped provide cover for big pharma, and then when something really bad goes wrong is when the U.S. military has to intervene and protect and shut down people from freely moving because of these experimental things that go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And Africa has been the petri dish for a myriad of other bioweapons programs as well. Not just pharmaceuticals, but bioweapons. I mean, is it a coincidence that the whole Ebola in Senegal and Sierra Leone, that whole thing happened, right? And what occurred? Okay, what occurred when people started putting two and two together, saying, "Hey, you know what? You guys are coming here with the Red Cross, and wherever the Red Cross is going, there's an Ebola outbreak. What the hell is going on? And what are these injections you're injecting people with?" That story died down very quickly. Folks, we are living in a world where people in positions of power have nefarious intent. They do not have your best interest at heart. So it is important that we begin to ask these questions like, what the heck is going on? Because if we don't begin to monitor and bring these people to account, who the hell will? It's ridiculous, man.
Correct. Yes.
All right, brother. I think I'm gonna hide underneath my desk for this one, CJ, because they said the U.S. The United States government is saying, bro, that there's gonna be another 9/11 style attack, bro. I'm really scared. I think I should hide underneath my desk. What should I do?
Yeah, we talked about this, yesterday. The frequency of the media, the propaganda that's going to take place is going to speed up here the next couple of months. And yesterday was a perfect example of it. So yesterday, the DHS has warned that ISIS and Al Qaeda are planning a 9/11 style attack, here in the United States. So former Department of Homeland Security Chief Elaine Duke invoked one of the most traumatic episodes in U.S. history to remind complacent Americans that Al Qaeda and ISIS are still out there, plotting deadly terror attacks meant to kill as many American civilians as possible. So listeners, go live in fear, because that's what the deep state wants.
Oh my God. If they're not running proxy operations overseas and pulling strings and trying to do asymmetric warfare and doing all sorts of shenanigans and whatnot in Africa, what they're doing is spreading fear over here. There's going to be a terrorist attack. It could happen anytime, anywhere. Look out. If you see something, say something. Do something. Folks, go about your lives. And you want to put an end to this, guys? If you really want to put an end to this, 2018 midterm elections. 2018 midterm elections. Vote them all out of office. All of them, except for a handful. Vote the rest of them all out of office. Anyway, it seems like George W. Bush. W is becoming a rock star over here, buddy.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that I can't remember his years of office, but how many liberals and Democrats like hated George W. Bush. And then like yesterday, they're all like celebrating his life and celebrating everything that he's done. He's like the champion now of the anti-nationalist movement here in the United States. So yeah, so they're bringing out all the warmongers. They're bringing out all these war criminals. And yesterday's a perfect example where George W. Bush was on the stump talking about how America is divided under Trump, not specifically naming him out, but specifically talking about how he's so concerned about the world and the U.S. becoming isolationist and the troubles here at home regarding people. Well, my question to George W. is, where have you been the last 8 years prior to this when it was advocated to kill police officers, violence against Americans that Obama ushered in, the endless wars that were created, and what happened to that oath that supposedly you take, George W., that you would never come out and speak against a sitting president? Where was that oath? So again, we're talking about acts of desperation here, and this is a perfect example. Maybe he had to come out of the woodwork so the media could borrow his code. What was that? That code, the escalation meter. That today's a code green. That it's okay to go outside of your homes. The code
Oh
yellow. Be careful.
God. I mean, I mean, it's like there's a code brown when you go to a public restroom. You know, gotta watch out for them code browns. Yeah, going to the wrong public restroom. God knows what could happen. You could have a code brown in the toilet. All sorts of I mean, your whole life was dictated by color codes. This is the guy who said, too many good docs are getting out of business. Too many OB-GYNs aren't able to practice their love with women all across the country. No, W. No. Guy who just, who says the relationship with Native American tribes and tribal sovereignty is what it is. It's a sovereign entity. So anyway, he's not talking about divided America. No, what it is the deep state is in panic, and this guy is a son of a war criminal. He's a son of a seditious war criminal, and he's worried that his family's name is going to be besmirched, which it will very soon. Moving on.
Yeah, and also the JFK documents that potentially could be coming out, and also the 9/11 truth that we want to figure out. So
my daddy was he was playing golf that day when JFK was assassinated.
So here's the moment that most of us, our fans, us, will realize that when you're on the right side of history, V, is when the perpetrators of 9/11, the endless wars, the deaths of thousands women and children, massive debt and government enslavement launched their opposition efforts of propaganda for the sheepy. That's how we know we're on the right side of history.
Yeah. Speaking about the right side of history, man, hats off. Hats off to the FBI. I want to thank you guys for doing this amazing work. CJ, why don't you announce that, bro? I was elated about this. Oh, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, so this was a huge effort. Many players involved with it, law enforcement, and then yesterday they announced across the United States, primarily in Atlanta, where they were able to save 84 minors, arrest several in a huge child, basically prostitution, the worst, the trafficking. And so the Federal Bureau of Investigation, along with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, announced today that 84 minors were recovered and 120 traffickers were arrested as part of the Operation Cross Country 11, a nationwide effort focusing on underage human trafficking that ran from October the 12th through the 15th of this year. And there were actually arrests in my home state as well, in this city that this occurred. I probably would have never guessed that this happened. And I believe they saved like 15 young girls and arrested, the traffickers. So this is good. We need more of this, and this is a clear sign that that there are some wins out there to celebrate. V.
Amen to that, man. Amen to that. And I don't think it's a coincidence you have this happening, and you have the puto Harvey the puto Weinstein is right now freaking out in rehab. In rehab, he is freaking out and going crazy and creating a scene over there. That is telling me that the noose is starting to tighten, and there's nowhere these assholes could run. I pray that every single one of these individuals that are involved in human and child trafficking, I pray that their heads be put against the wall, a 12-gauge Mossberg shotgun be put right against the temples of their skulls, and the trigger be pulled and have their brains paint the back of the wall. And if they need some help doing that, I will gladly volunteer to have this done. I will sleep fine knowing that I ended their lives. Sick. I hate, vehemently despise pedophiles. I would have no problem in killing one of these traffickers and sleeping well at night. No problem, because I know at that point, my friend, I've done the Lord's work.
Right. Yeah. And there was also information coming out. I just want to cover it real quickly. Also, they finally released the information in regards to the civil lawsuits that were waged against Jeffrey Epstein, as we all remember, the chief of the Lolita Express and everything. Because obviously, in the criminal court, he was pretty much given a pass. We remember that, right? They just basically, I think they gave him a slap on the wrist and said that, hey, yeah, you shouldn't have done that, but we're going to avoid all other type of prosecution. But he still faced the civil lawsuits. So finally, this information is coming out, and so far they've revealed that he paid $5.5 million to settle lawsuits with 3 or more than 2 dozen teens who had sued him. So one of the girls was paid $1 million, another one $2 million. Another one $2.5 million in regards to this settlement. So obviously, if he's paying that type of money out, I would say that he's pretty darn guilty as charged.
Absolutely, he's massively guilty.
Anyway, just wanted to add that.
Guys like Epstein need to be in jail or flip. Either or, man. Absolutely. Anyway, brother, that takes the end of the show. What do you got? Anything lined up for later today, or?
Yeah, I'm going to try to get W to join us at 2:00 today, because I think it's important for him to share. I mean, he called out and he talked around the whole Hezbollah, the whole Israel thing. Even before. I mean, that was like months ago that we interviewed him, and even I was kind of scratching my head, wondering where he was going with it. Now, boom, it's here.
Yep, it's here.
Potentially.
I mean, he's reading their mail. He knows that these guys want to get something going with Hezbollah. It's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen at all. I think it's a fool's errand. If they think that they're going to go ahead and fight a Hezbollah, it's the stupidest thing in the world. Nobody wants to fight Hezbollah. No one's that dumb.
And maybe you guys could also debate muscle cars and fighter jets too.
He's a board file. There's no saving him. There's no saving him. He's irredeemable in that respect. But he'll say the same thing about me, man. He'll start talking about the Ford motors. I'll start talking about push rods and whatnot. Then we'll move into the more modern stuff, and he'll start talking about Ford GTs, and I'll be talking about Porsche 911 GT2 RSs, and go on and on, man. But that'll be fun. Definitely looking forward to it. All right, buddy. I will see you later. Hasta la pasta, and have a wonderful day, folks. Check back with us at 2 with International Man of Mystery. Should be on.